Good afternoon, my dear students. Good afternoon, my dear students.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay, fine. I hope my voice is audible.
Yes,
Whether can
ma'am.
you hear me? Okay. Is there any disturbance like the break? You can feel like if there is any disturbance, you please tell me. Let me know. Yes. As I always used to request the students 5 minutes earlier to be ready with that. I hope many of you. I hope all of you have finished your lunch. You had your lunch. Yes. All of you had your lunch.
Ma'am.
Yes, children. Or having your lunch along with the online classes? Is it so? Is it so, children? Okay, I'll start the class sharp at 2 o'clock. So, if I could see many of the students still they are, yes, not, they are becoming absent for the classes continuously. Then I have to, as I've told you, I will inform the parents. Okay, children, so FA1 test is coming next week. I hope you have the timetable now. Yes, Pratham, good afternoon. Always, as always, I used to say, be ready with, maybe you may think that teacher is going on doing the lesson, going on giving the notes, because we do have 39, 40 chapters in social science. And as a department said, there is no reduced syllabus, there is no deleted portion this time. So we have to. Okay, so I hope all of you are having the awareness. FA1 test is there from 15, 16, 17. I hope so. It's correct. Is it? The dates correct? Can anyone tell me? Did you get the message?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so be ready with that. I will tell you what and all the portion. Again, I will have that message in the, so before starting the class, I will give you the portion. Please note down if you have the textbook and you have always your textbook in front of you and your writing material. Okay, so in history we do have the first chapter, Advent of Europeans to India, and political science first chapter, the problems of India, sociology first chapter, social stratification, and geography first and second chapter, position, extension and physiographic divisions, and business studies first chapter, bank transactions. Please have that note. Okay, children. I hope my voice is audible. Shall I start the lesson? Let's continue with the second chapter. Yes, Pratham, shall I continue? Pratham?
The geography, which ma'am in FA1?
First and second chapter. That your teachers also, they are going to send the message, and I'm also going to send the message. Not wasting further, let's go to the lesson. Okay, children? So, let's continue the second chapter. That is Akriti.
Yes, ma'am.
Akriti, are you there? Child, whether whatever the page displayed, whether it's visible, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, child. Okay, children, I hope whatever the topics that we were discussing yesterday, I hope it's very clear. Let us have a little bit of recapitulation what we were discussing yesterday. Yes, let me ask some of the questions. So in the first chapter, what we have studied, the advent or the arrival, or the entry of the Britishers and all the European nations to India, and compared to all these Europeans, the Britishers were more powerful. How we can say that? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me? Rishabh Kumar is there from standard 10A2. Rishabh? Rishabh is there from standard 10A2.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, child. Tell me, what was that war through which we can say that British became more powerful in India?
Carnatic Wars.
Very good, child. Very good. So, as we all know that the two wars they fought mainly when we do talk about the Indian history, the Carnatic Wars, and its Carnatic was mainly about the competition between the British and the French, and what we could see the results of that, British became more powerful in India. And coming to the Buxar, and here we can say that most of the eastern parts of India, what we were discussing yesterday, most of the eastern parts, Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, where the territories came directly under the control of the British. So what we can understand here, that juncture, we could see the Britishers became more prominent in India. Then yesterday we were discussing, there are so many other topics, all these are all important. 1453, what was the important event, discovery, and after that the impact of that, discovery of the new sea routes to India. And at the same time, yesterday in this chapter, we were discussing about who were the most dominant states in the southern and the western part. They were there. Vishal Kamath from standard 10A2. Vishal Kamath, are you there, child? Vishal Kamath from standard 10A2. Is there? No. Mausami is there, Mausami? Standard 10A1. Mausami? No. Anish Kamath? Anish Kamath? Anish Kamath?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you there, Anish?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you tell me which were the two important kingdoms, or the eastern and the western part of the kingdoms? They were very prominent or very famous and very, we can say that, strong during that time. So by 1765, quick. I'll give you the clue. It is in the first para answer. Are you sleeping? Anish, are you sleeping?
No.
Having your food? Having your food?
No. No.
What's the answer?
Oh.
Mausami, are you there? Aishwarya, are you there? Standard 10A1? Yeah, tell me. Whoever. Call names, mention names.
Ma'am,
Yes, tell me.
Chatampai. Marathas and Mysore.
Okay, Mysore and the Marathas. Marathas and the Mysore states. Anish, please have your concentration. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me between whom the first Anglo-Maratha war fought? Between whom the first Anglo-Maratha war was fought? Quick. Huh?
Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan.
Who said that answer? Anish. Anish, this is your answer. Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Who said that answer?
Gagan.
Oh, you were not there yesterday in the class, no? Gagan? Did we yesterday talk about Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan in the war? It is between, Bhuvan, are you there? Standard 10A2, Bhuvan?
Ma'am.
Akriti Malia, can you tell me the answer between whom the first Anglo-Maratha war was fought?
Between the British and Marathas.
Very good. See, Gagan there don't have the nonsense answer, okay? If you don't know, you can say don't know, don't give. See, yesterday I was just talking about these were some of the impediment, in the sense they were the strongest one. In Mysore, they were the strongest, and the Marathas in the Mumbai, of course, and Ranjit Singh of Punjab in the later part of the 19th century. It is a war, it's not talk. In this lesson, we are not going to talk about the Anglo-Mysore war. Here in this chapter, we are going to discuss about just the Marathas and the English, the war which took place between these two people. Okay, children, then what we were discussing here, what were the causes for the war, or the starting point, and what were the impact or what were the consequences. Here what happened at the end, the British, actually in the beginning, the Marathas were upper hand, but at the end they could not do anything. So what was the agreement? Now Gagan, you give me the answer. What was the agreement through which the first Anglo-Maratha war ended? Gagan. Spontaneous answer he will give. I do appreciate, but sometimes. Kriti is there, Kriti. Okay. Aishwarya is there from standard NA1. Aishwarya. Who's this? Tell me. Okay, Gajanan, tell me, what was that agreement which was signed between that who ended the first Anglo-Maratha war? Quick.
Salva agreement.
Salva agreement. All of you underline and keep one of the important question for 1 mark, and it is one of the point in the what were the impacts. I hope whatever the extra questions given, you note down that and you will have that note, so that not necessary to write, but you should have the knowledge. Then we were discussing about the subsidiary alliance. Who introduced that? Lord Wellesley. What do you mean by subsidiary alliance? It is a military protection agreement between the East India Company and the Indian state. 1 mark questions. This is one of the important topic for 3 marks. What were the conditions of subsidiary alliance? 6 points are there. Important question for 3 marks. There are 6 points are there. Yes. Then just see, this is the last para. Last para, write one question there. Write one question for this para. Tulsi Pai. Tulsi Pai. Child, whether voice is audible?
Yes, ma'am. It is audible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Last paragraph for this, write one question. What were the effects or results or the outcomes of the subsidiary alliance? What were the results, effects, same answer, outcome, consequences, same answer. First point, the British could place Indian state. Of course, see, whichever the princely states or the ruler going to accept the subsidiary alliance, that the ruler will be a puppet under the British. All the control, in the sense, real control under the British. And as we have seen yesterday, they have to maintain the army of the British. All the expenses will be borne by the Indian ruler. And the Indian states, second point, the Indian states were subjected to severe economic exploitation. Can anyone tell me why it is the economic exploitation? Can anyone, if you have the idea? Economic exploitation.
The king had to take care of the army.
Okay, so
the army.
Very good, very good. Finance, money, they have to, so we can say that from the royal treasury, they are going to spend the money for the sake of the British. They are protecting, in the sense, just whatever the assurance is given by, as you all know that, the Britishers, they are so diplomatic, all the assurance, like I can say that in the present day scenario, many of the politicians, during the election time, the agenda, so many agendas, so many manifesto, they will say, we are going to do this, that and all. But at the end, question mark. In the same manner, whatever the conditions laid, we are going to protect you if any other native or any other ruler going to attack or have the aggression on your kingdom, but they did not help. That we are going to see in the next topics. So a lot of money were invested on the maintenance of the army. So economic exploitation. And third point, the Hyderabad state, one of the important point for one mark question. Who was the first king to accept the subsidiary alliance in India? The Hyderabad state, the Nizam. Okay, children, the Nizam was a ruler. And fourth point, Mysore. Okay, so Mysore, Awadh, Tanjore, Maratha, Pune, Virar, Gwalior. So children, see the last what we could see. They were thinking that it is better not to have the misunderstanding with the British, and all this princely states or the kings, they accepted this agreement. So I just want to know now. Yesterday also I was telling you in the introduction that through the many, it may be the treaty, it may be having the wars and the subsidiary alliance and the doctrine of lapse, and entering into the agreement, the Britishers, they were trying to have control over many of the territories. So what I can say that, in other words, it's an extension. In other words, can anyone tell me what is the term that what we do use for rule? Colonialism is the term. Yes? Divide and rule, you are telling. You are telling divide and rule.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. That was one of the tactics to which I do agree with you. But we do call, see, for the trade purpose, we do call colonialism. Can anyone tell me what was the term that what we do use for having the rule here? Can anyone?
Administration.
No. What is the other term I have given you in the earlier classes?
Imperialism.
Very good. Who said that?
Tulsi ma'am.
Who said that?
Tulsi.
Okay, very good, Tulsi. So, remember these terms, okay? Many a times they will ask you, what do you mean by colonialism? What do you mean by imperialism? Colonialism is having the trade contact. Now they have come, they have crossed that limit. The Britishers, they are having their firm foothold on the Indian soil. Now they wanted to have their power here. They started to have India as one of the colonial nation, and moreover, they were the imperial nation. They were having their administration over India. I hope you got that. Let me continue with the second Maratha war. So, as I told you yesterday, in history, many a times, the children, they will say, so many wars we have to study, miss. So what we have to do, as I told you yesterday, just remember between whom the wars took place, which year, and what were the different or the various causes, how the war was fought. Just children, you know that it's very simple. I hope at this point of time you do have the knowledge. Social, we are not writing in a Ramayana Mahabharata or the lengthy answers like, sorry. It's just right. We are, depending upon the marks, we are writing the answer in points. Beautifully, we are going to write the point. Public also the same, writing nicely in points. Depending upon the marks, you have to write the point. 2 marks, 4 points. 3 marks, 6 points. 4 marks, 8 or 10 points. That's your capacity. So, nicely you have to write the point. So, let's understand between whom. Of course, now Gagan, tell me between whom again this Maratha war, Anglo-Maratha war was fought. Gagan, if you're having the concentration, please. If you don't know, please don't tell the answer. Please don't. I don't want your answer, child. Gagan, are you there? From Tanda 10A2.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me between whom the second Anglo-Maratha war was fought.
British
And the
Marathas.
Marathas, okay. Okay, fine. Write and keep that if you can't remember that one. Okay, children, let us start. The year for mute your mic. Gagan, mute your mic. Yeah, the differences among the Maratha chieftains. So, for almost for about 2 years, now these are the important reasons. Write one question. What were the reasons or the causes for the Second Anglo-Maratha War? Okay, first point, the differences among the Maratha chieftains. Chieftains, see children, I'll tell you in simple words. Maratha Kingdom, Maratha Confederation. There were petty, small, what we can see here, the territories, and their eras, or we could see their leader like. So that is a chieftain, the confederation, the Maratha Confederation, and they do have all this petty, this thing, you know, that they will have one leader. So they are called as the chieftains. Was the reason for this war. So what we can understand here, there was a misunderstanding among the Maratha kingdoms. Misunderstanding. There was no unanimous, we can say that, unity among them. They did not have any unanimous ideas or the principles, and that paved the way for the Britishers to have their opportunity here. Second point, an enmity broke out between Yashwant Rao of Holkar family. These were all the different the families like Holkar, Scindia, and one more, Peshwa. Actually, Peshwas, what you know, they were the prime ministers after, we can say that, Shivaji and all. The Maratha, the main, their family, after that, the Peshwas, they were the prime ministers, like they were having their rule. Okay, then the other families, you know, Holkar, Gwalior, and Bhonsle. So these were the important chieftains of the Maratha kingdom, and these were the different families through which they were called as. Second point, the enmity between the Scindia family and the Holkar family, and with the Peshwa Balaji Rao. As yesterday was telling, the Peshwas among that Balaji Vishwanath Bajirao and Balaji Bajirao. And we have witnessed one of the very beautiful yesterday, as what I was mentioning. And as we all know that seeing their the kind of the people, they were the personality and a great warrior and very brave children, not ready to give up, in the sense they did not want the Britishers to have their rule actually. But there was no understanding between these families. So that was the main reason for this Britishers to have the war here, or to have the opportunity over there in the Marathas. The Peshwa appealed for help. So see, here what happened, this is the turning point. The Peshwa requested, or they wanted the help of the British. See children, then that's a different story. Now the story is totally different. Lord Wellesley finally got a next point, opportunity. For starting from here till here, these are the causes. These were the causes you can write. Next one, what happened? The impact of that, what we could see. Lord Wellesley finally got an opportunity to meddle, interfere with the affairs of the Maratha. Till now, they did not get any chance because they were all so strong. They were all so united. United we stand, divided we fall. Happened the same year. The Peshwa entered the subsidiary alliance. See what we have seen here, the last point. So once if they are going to accept the subsidiary alliance, that was the tactics, then they are just a puppet. Whatever the Britishers used to tell them, they have to adhere, they have to listen the same. Okay, so what was the treaty? Treaty of Basin was signed. Other Maratha family children. So from here, the answer, write one question for this. What were the impacts of the Second Anglo-Maratha War? What were the impacts of Second Anglo-Maratha War? First point, Lord Wellesley. So what was the treaty was signed between at the end, what we could, it's not the war of that kind, but we could see there were some great impacts in the Indian history, children. As what we have seen, Maratha, one of the strongest kingdom, and see what's the pitiable condition, a part of the kingdom now, at this point of time or at this juncture. And other Maratha families like Holkar, they were not ready, children. And Holkar, Gwalior, Bhonsle, they formed an alliance. So these three family or the kingdoms, they were together, and Peshwas, they joined with the British. And Lord Wellesley defeated the armies of various. So all these allied forces were completely defeated by the British Anglo. I hope you got that. But not a fierce battle like, but there was a battle for just for 2 years. And so when we do say that 2 years, no, it's a continuous war. Like in between that, there will be a like that. Okay. So Lord Wellesley defeated the armies. So from here the results, and 1803 to 1805. But this battle, thirstiness, spelling error, increased the financial burden on the company. I will tell you what is the inner meaning of this sentence. You know that, children. As we have that idea now, we know that the Marathas were very strong, very powerful. Having said that, they were the great warriors. Children, I want to mention that movie. What a beautiful, the character has been portrayed in that movie, Bajirao Mastani. In that Bajirao, how fearlessly, without any fear, he had the war. He did not listen to any. In the sense, it may be the British or any other rulers, that kind of children, that kind of nature, the ability, the capacity of the Peshwas or the Maratha rulers, children. But very sorry, when the Peshwas, they did take the help of the British, then everything closed. So the thirstiness, so he got bad name, children, because Lord Wellesley and their treasury, in the sense, they has to have a lot of expenses on this. Because it was not so easy for them to defeat this Maratha kingdom. It may be the Peshwas, it may be the Holkar, it may be the Gwalior or the Bhonsle. All were so very powerful. So it was very difficult on their part. So economically, they have to have a lot of burden on their part. That's why he did not get the name. He got a lot of criticism at that point of time. So what happened? Criticized for this policy, Lord Wellesley resigned from his post and returned to England. This resulted in peace in this region. So I have given you 3 questions. Between whom, years, what were the causes, starting from year till year, these were the impacts, these were the impacts. So don't have that in your mind, the Marathas were, children, compared to Britishers, they were weak. Of course not. They were very strong. But the problem what created that, there was a misunderstanding. There was no understanding. There was no unanimous opinion. The principles they did apply. So that paved the way for these Britishers. And the next point, the Peshwas, they accepted that subsidiary alliance. I hope you got that. I'm stressing some of the points so that you can say that the Marathas, of course, they were not the weak rulers. They were very strong. That's why they have to have a lot of expenses on the, we can say that, on the army. So very happy, Lord Wellesley returned to England, and for a period of time, there was peace in the region, Maratha kingdom. Okay, children, one of the important, last year actually some of the topics have been dropped, but I'm doing, hope for the best if this point or the topics are there. Last year, if this some of the topics were not there yet, but just go through that. Third Anglo-Maratha War, let's proceed, or let's go to the next topic. The third Anglo-Maratha War. Satvik Esrai is there from standard 10A1, Satvik Esrai. Very poor attendance, Satvik Esrai. Satvik Esrai, not becoming absent, or if it's there also, attendance is very poor. The percentage is very low. Next one, Shreya, you is there? Are you there, child? Shreya, you from standard 10A1? From standard 10A1. Yeah, tell me. What was the treaty? What was the treaty signed between the English and the Marathas at the end of the Second Anglo-Mysore War? Are you there? Yes, ma'am. Yes, tell me the answer then. Can anyone voluntarily?
Ma'am, Treaty
Solved
of
by our
Versailles.
estimate.
City of Basin.
Very good. Who
Treaty
said
of
that?
Versailles. Anush,
Okay.
Anush.
Okay, thank you, child. Let's go to the next war. Fought between English and the Marathas. Let's see what happened after this, one of the decisive, the last battle between the English and the Marathas. Let's see. Between whom? English and the Marathas. How many years? Just for 1 year. The Maratha families. These are the starting points, the causes. Write the question. What were the causes for the third Anglo-Maratha war? First point. The Maratha families tried their best to protect their independence. As I told you, they were not at all weak rulers. They wanted to, at any cost, they wanted to have, we can say that, to protect the honor and the dignity and the protect the independence of their kingdom, children. As I told you, there was misunderstanding, and that was one of the prime reason for this. Even the Peshwas attempted to free himself from the clutches of the company. Now, at that point of time, they did realize that we have made a big blunder. We accepted the subsidiary alliance, and we did take their help. Very sorry. So they did want to free themselves, but they could not. Clutches. At that point of time, at this juncture, they were the puppets under the British. They could not do anything, children. Third point, the Peshwa attacked the British residency. Residency is a place of the British. It's like what you know, children. For the place they used to store their weapons, ammunitions, and all their soldiers they used to have together. In the sense, it's like a big place for them to have the settlement over there in Pune. Children, I don't know whether is there anyone, if you have witnessed, I've gone there, very beautiful. There are so many forts what we could see built by Shivaji and the Peshwas and Bajirao, and it's so beautiful. And there you can see still in some of the places in Pune, what we can see the replica or what these Britishers they have done that. See, children, it's one of the very important place of the Britishers also. As it is one of the place, the Marathas, the Pune or the Pune, it is one of the important place. And what this did, you know, they did, they burnt it down. They burned this British residency. There are so many, the collection, everything had been kept over there. Everything burnt, spelling error. Appa Sahib of Nagpur, next point. And Malhar Rao of Holkar against the British. So children, what we can understand, till their last breath, many of the Peshwa, many of the Maratha families, they fought against the British in the third Anglo-Maratha war. So we have to appreciate that. At that point, the Marathas, they did not want any of the other foreigners or the aliens or the Britishers to have their rule on their soil, children. Finally, Peshwa Bajirao too fought against the British at Koregaon and Ashi and later surrendered to the British. So he could not do anything because one of the main reason, there was no unity. I always used to say while doing this chapters, there was lack of unity among the native princes or the rulers. United we stand, divided we fall. If it is that factor, that is always binding all the citizens or the people of India. That was not the children. Initially, if it is there, if we would have initially itself, we would have chased these Britishers out of India. There was no history. What we are going to study now, the Britishers' history, what they have done and all those things. So that was the reason, children. There was no unity among the Indian rulers, and happened the same year, the Maratha kingdoms also, and they installed Prathapasim. Next point, see children, what they did, you know, the Britishers, they made him to sit on the throne, a descendant of Shivaji. Actually, Shivaji family, another person as the ruler of Satara, a minuscule, a very small territory, a state-like. During that time, he was not calling it as the state, it's a kingdom-like, and named him as the traditional leader of Marathas. Okay, children, so these are all what we can understand, these are the causes. Okay, so here, this is the impact of the third Anglo-Maratha war. These were the results. What happened after that? So what we can see, at the end, what is the conclusive or the decision what happened here, the result, conclusive result, the Marathas were completely suppressed by the British. Now they cannot raise their head, in the sense they cannot have their power over the Maratha territories. Okay, children, so I hope you got that. Under the English or the Anglo-Maratha, we have studied 3 important words. First Anglo, causes and the results, and what was one of the important topic what we have studied here, subsidiary alliance, and we have studied about the second, causes, results, and the third Anglo-Maratha war. Okay, children, let's go to, as we were discussing yesterday, one more important kingdom was very powerful in the northwest, which was that, can anyone? Savin Rai. Hold on. Savin Rai, are you there? Savin Rai, standard anyone? No. Sheikh Mohammed Asim, I'll check your attendance. Asim. Fazil Omar, are you there?
I am there.
Who's that? Asim. Okay, tell me, which was that important kingdom in the northwest which was very powerful, very dominant during that time? By 70, what we do find? Quick. 1765. Fazil Omran from standard tenure 2. No. What happened? When I do ask the questions, many of the children, they won't raise their voice there. I don't know whether you are there. Is there any technical issue? Is there any problem? Okay, children. So as we all know that if you see in the Indian history, if you turn the pages of Indian history, in the Punjab province prior to the independence, one of the greatest king, that was Ranjit Singh. Children, very beautifully given here. Ranjit Singh. Children, this is not going to come, but I'm just going to have some of the gist, and later I can finish the chapter here. Ranjit Singh was born in 1780 as a son of Malan Singh, who headed this is one of the, you should have this knowledge, children. Shukraj Chakya Misl. This is one of the small army, children, father headed. And among the 12, his father was one among them. They were the head, leader. He was the head of. He lost his father by age of 10. Very small he was. At the age of 10, he lost his father. Very unfortunate thing. When Jaman Shah of Kabul invaded. As we all know that, children, during that time, from northwest, from Afghan, from Persia, so many rulers, so many kings, they had their attack on India. And you know that during that time, he did help Ranjit Singh, very small, he did help the governor of Lahore. Lahore, it's there in Punjab now. Yes. And Kabul, it is in Afghanistan. I hope you do have the awareness what's happening in Afghanistan now. Can anyone tell me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Taliban
Yeah.
government.
Yes.
Taliban takeover.
Very good, child.
Taliban
Yeah,
takeover.
very good. Okay, so he did help him, and at the end he gave him, because for his help and services he has given one title. So that's why Ranjit Singh is called as Raja Ranjit Singh, because children at that age, children, very small age, and he had that courage, he had that fear, and he has that all this capacity through which he did help him to come here, and at the same time to have his territories. And he was 19 years old by then. So 19 years, just a 19 years boy, and hereafter he grew up in a very amazing. If you see in the Sikh religion, and if you go, or if you see in the Punjab, the history, very prominent, very famous, Ranjit Singh, Raja Ranjit Singh. And he was 19 years, and he took control over the Sikh missiles, the army, and present to the west of Sutlej, established his Sikh kingdom. Underline this line for your knowledge. He established Sikh kingdom, who? Raja Ranjit Singh. And he entered continuous agreement with the British. And one more very, very, very appreciable fact about Ranjit Singh, till his death, he did not allow Britishers to have their power or control over the Punjab province. And 1809 at Amritsar, we had the continuous agreement. That was so powerful agreement, the Britishers, they had no daring. They did not have that much of dare to have their control to wage war against Ranjit Singh. So he organized his army on the lines of European army. At that time, children, he had the capacity to have his army of that kind, very, we can say that, very forward, very advanced line of armies of the Europeans. As always, having said that, Indian armies, we could not compete, we could not wage the wars with the British, because they are very, very advanced army. They had all the bombs, the air techniques and all. We could not. Compared to, we were not so, yeah. His army included Gorakh. Yes, these are all some of the points. Okay. And at the same time, the army of Ranjit Singh was the best, underlined. So, European armies, on the lines of European armies, his army was the best, and he was secular. One more very appreciable, he was a secular. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by secular or secularism? Srishan there? Srishan there from standard 10A1, Anunand from 10A2, Bhavi Shalva from 10A1, Kanishke from 10A. Can anyone tell me among these four answer? What do you mean by secularism?
Ma'am.
Yeah, tell your name, child, good name.
Ma'am, Navanit, ma'am.
Okay, very good. I didn't call your name. It's okay. You're welcome. Tell me the answer.
It is the right to follow any religion.
Okay. Anything else?
No, ma'am, that much only.
Well, not connected to any religion or spirituality.
Very good. Who's
Not
that?
connected to anything.
Very good. Okay, fine. So secularism is that when we talk about Indian Constitution, we do have that one of the very beautiful principle in India, any language we can embrace, or none of the language has been given, we can say that the religious, or in the eyes of laws, all religions are same. So secular, so that is called as secularism. Secular in temperament, supported both Hindu, yeah, mute your mic, whoever it may be, mute. And people from all the religions had high offices. So in his court, in his kingdom, mute your mic, who's that? Yeah, he was successful in protecting his state from the British by not having any enmity. So what I can understand, what we can understand here, underline the last line. Ranjit Singh founded an independent Sikh state and ruled it as independent king. There was no meddling, there was no interference of the British till 1839. Let's come into the topic now. So what we can understand, after his death, after Ranjit Singh's death, there was political anarchy broke out. There was political chaos in Punjab and the British. So what we can see here, the British attempted. Now they got the chance or the opportunity to have their, to do something with the province, and Punjab violating the continuous friendship. They had the continuous friendship pact, no, with the Ranjit. They violated that. That is their nature, always violating whatever the treaty or the pact they used to have with the Indian rulers. And with the erstwhile, the king in the 1845, a war break out. Okay, children. So the war between Anglo-Sikh, Anglo-English, and the Sikh, and sensing the danger from outside force, Hindus, Sikhs and Muslims got together. Underline this line. Strong bond, what we could see, the secular ruler, what he had the values in his kingdom that paved the way. Initially, all were together. Finally, they had to accept defeat due to few traitor leader cheaters. What they have done, Deshdrohi, what they have done, they wanted to have the power, so they helped the British. All they were together, but there are some people always grabbing the opportunity, and they are not going to get anything helping the British. At the end, they are also outside. They will remain as a puppet under the British. Happened the same. They signed a humiliating Lahore agreement. Underline this. Lahore. So these were the children. These were the impact. These were the from here. They had to. Who's that? Mute your mic, no? Who's that? Please. They had to accept defeat due to few traitor and sign a treaty. Next point, with the British resident became the de facto. He became the real ruler of Punjab, and Punjab became the dependent state of East India Company. There are 4 points are there. What were the consequences of Anglo-Sikh War? Which year? 1845. What we could see, the war which broke out, 1845. Between whom? Anglo and the English and the Sikhs. Okay, next point. The Sikhs opposed the attempts by the British to rule Punjab directly. The opposition were led by Chatha Singh, Atariwala in Lahore, and Munraja in. So these are the points you can take for consequences. Again, the people of Punjab were defeated. They could not do anything, children. Finally, Lord Halsey merged. Next governor after Lord Wellesley, Lord Dalhousie, he came into the picture in the sense he became the governor at that point of time, and he had other plans here. His state of Punjab merged with the British Empire. So the history of Punjab, what the great history created by Ranjit Singh was completely, we can say that it was everything finished or destroyed by after the first. There's only one war, Anglo-Sikh War. Okay, children, so we can say that after the governor, who was the governor now? Lord Dalhousie. Yesterday we were, while discussing the subsidiary alliance, we did discuss about doctrine of lapse. Can anyone tell me, unmute your mic and say the answer. Can anyone? What do you mean by doctrine of lapse? Important question. Who introduced? Lord Dalhousie. What do you mean by doctrine of lapse?
Ma'am,
if
one king adopted one son, he could not be ruler.
Okay, very good. Who said that? Very good.
The adopted child has no right.
Very good. Very good.
Doctrine of lapse introduced Dalhousie.
Okay, Gagan. Okay, Gagan. What do you mean by doctrine of lapse? Others unmute. Mute your mic. Those who all unmuted their mic. Okay, fine. Gagan, continue. What do you mean by doctrine of lapse? Anvita Rao is there. Standard 10th AD, Anvita Rao.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, child, can you please tell me what do you mean by Doctrine of lapse.
Yeah, ma'am. If any king has adopted any child, that adopted child has no right to rule the kingdom.
Okay, very good. Very good, Shri. So, Lord Dalhousie introduced this doctrine of lapse, and what was the impact of that, children? See here, what we could see, a seriousness, what we could see in on the Indian rulers, and at the same time, what happened to the status of the Indian kingdoms. Very sorry. Now, answer is here. The adopted children of Indian kings were refused of their right to throne. If any of the Indian ruler does not have his own child, natural heir, suppose if he has adopted, the adopted child does not have any right. What was the tactics here? Directly that kingdom will come under the control of the British. What a diplomacy or the tactics through which they were having their extension of their empire, children. Subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse. So, answer again here very clearly. If any Indian ruler dies without children, their adopted children had no legal right. They don't have any legal right over the throne. So, over the throne, to have the power, and such state gets merged with the British. So, here, what was their main motive here? The aim, extension of the empire. Princely states, underline, the impact of the doctrine of lapse. Points. First point, princely states like Satara, Nagpur, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Jhansi Rani, Lakshmi Bai. As we all know that. Yesterday when I was telling you the same topic discussing, I told you something about Rani Jhansi. She was considered as the greatest of all the mutineers. Her own child died, and after that she adopted a child. And what they did, the British, all the officers came. At that time, what she said, I will not give up Jhansi. I won't allow these Britishers to have their power over my kingdom. So you know that, again repeating the same story, what I've yesterday mentioned you, narrated you, and that scene, Rani Jhansi, she had her baby on her back tied, and with that force, the courageous lady, and she waged the war. You know that? And very unfortunate thing, she was killed, maybe by mistakenly, she was killed by her own soldier. They could not make out actually in that fierce battle, no? That fellow, that soldier could not make out. And what she did, she had all her jewelry and all her gold, and she gave that, and she said, give it to my soldiers, for my kingdom this is for. But till her last breath, what is very appreciable, we have to appreciate this Rani, that till her last breath, she fought for her soil, for the Indian, what we do find. So that kind of queens, that kind of kings we had, children. There are so many stories if you go on reading this kind. And at the end, Jhansi also came under Jaipur. So there are so many, like if you take all the stories, all these kings and all the queen here. Just why, children, I continue. Rani Jhansi, she was considered as in the 1857 revolt. She was considered as the greatest of all the mutineers. Very beautiful chapter we do have in history in the yes, in the part 1, or I don't remember exactly. Jaipur came under this policy, children. As a Governor General, Lord Dalhousie knew the conditions of the states. He used this policy as a political weapon. So this is a political weapon, children. So if I ask this question, what were the two political weapons through which the British had their extension of empire? Can anyone tell me?
Subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse.
Subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse.
Very good. I can hear many of the voices. Correct answer. Very good. See, children, these are the weapons, political weapons. Why political word here? Extension of empire. Going on, we can say that gobbling some of the territories, in the sense going on having their power, going and having their administration over that territory. So very easily, children, very easily they wanted to defeat a native ruler, and many a times they were finding it very difficult through the wars to win. So these were the weapons through which they were trying to have their control over many of the territories, wanted to defeat the native rulers. With the severe implementation of this policy, not only the princely families, even the ordinary people who were sympathetic to these kings, as we all know that, children. India, when we do talk about, see, in 1947, very happy, India became independent. But very unfortunate, India and Pakistan, two independent nations. And one more important, one of the challenges in front of the Indian government was that we had almost, there were 552 princely states, children, petty kingdoms. And many of the territories, they were not ready to join the Indian Union. And all this, as that was a sentiment, children. That was the people of India, like the Indians, they were very sympathetic to this, too much of attachment. And they used to give a lot of respect to the kings and rebelled against the company. They were not ready to accept this, their rule. And their love for their kings and the sense of loyalty fueled this rebellion further, that finally resulted in the Sipai Mutiny of 1857. We must have been seen one of the movie Uprising. Yeah, that's one of the very Hindi movie, the Sipai Mutiny relating to. Okay, children. So what we can understand here, these were the results of doctrine of lapse. Akriti, whether my voice is audible, child?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so from here, the answers, what were the impacts of doctrine of lapse? One of the important topic, as I told you earlier also, I was talking about when we were discussing a subsidy, one of the important topic, who introduced, what were the conditions, what were the aftermath or the impact, here doctrine of lapse, who introduced, what were the important impacts, or we can say that the consequences till here. So I think almost 6 or 8 points you are going to get. Good it is. Have more points. Sometimes we do forget, you know that? Still, children, if they do forget any of the point, if you have for 3 marks, if you have 8 points, any one or the other point you can write, no, children? Yes. Okay, children. So I hope you have understood the topic. Yeah. Just I'll take your. It's time up. I'll just take your 2 minutes. When we do talk about this Sipai Mutiny, children, it happened in the year 1850. We have a separate chapter. I'll just give you a gist. 1857. It was called by the British as the Sipai Mutiny, and we Indians, we do call it as the first war of Indian independence. Now the question is, why do we call it as the first Indian? Because it is the foundation war. It is the first war of independence. Okay, so this was called as Sipai Mutiny because from the Sipais, the soldier from the army, Mangal Pandey, he killed a British officer. That's why it was called as Sipai Mutiny. I hope, children, you have understood whatever the topics discussed today. Time is up. I hope just go through that. You will get the. I hope you have the answers for all this in your mind now. If you are having the concentration, if you are given full concentration in the class. Okay, children. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, children. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.